Professor Allan Saxe on the line right now from the University of Texas at Arlington, political science professor. Good morning, sir.
I want to be Tom Brady.
Oh, my Lord.
See what I look like.
For so many reasons, on so many different levels, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you knew what I look like, you'd understand.
Wow. Listen,
Well, you and Giselle, you know.
But, people walk down and say, and again, I'm not endorsing what you're saying about your looks, but if what you say is true, people will be like, well, you can tell he's got money. I mean, yeah, he's got some dough.
I'm a little bitty guy, have no money, just trying to make it in this world, hanging on like a cat on a ledge.
Well,
and that's about it.
I got to tell you, we turn to you for your opinion, so that's a pretty big compliment there.
I appreciate that a lot. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the world that is not so good. I wish the whole world could be one big Super Bowl and a Lady Gaga at halftime.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not. It looks like the tensions are ramping up between the United States and Iran. Probably the big flashpoint will be in Yemen, where the Arab Gulf states are very worried about Iran's playing around with Yemen and financing rebels there. Some people might remember that we had the USS Cole that was attacked by terrorists in the 1990s under President Clinton's administration. Well, the Cole is back patrolling the waters off the coast of Yemen in interesting stuff. I think Yemen could be the flashpoint. President Netanyahu is going to be in London, I think, today, discussing issues with Theresa May, the new Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And Iran is going to be at the top of their agenda. Then a week later, he's coming to the United States to speak with President Trump. It looks like that, again, Iran is going to be at the top of the agenda as well.
I know our approach here is the approach of, listen, we're the strongest in the world. Deal with it. That's how we're going to move through history here. But when we look back on history, that's not always. Some strategists would say that President Truman really placed us in the midst of a Cold War. I know that's there's controversy over that theory, but President Truman came in with that fist to the table, saying, "We are the United States, and this is what's going to happen." What are your thoughts? And
yet some people, going back in the history book, some people claim that President Truman was not strong enough.
Right.
I'm thinking about Korea, where General MacArthur wanted to go in and use nuclear weapons in regard to the Korean War on China. And President Truman fired him, in that very interesting moment between civilian authority and military.
Right.
So Harry Truman, I think, was, by all accounts, the great containment president. But you're right. NATO, the European alliances were started under President Truman, the containment policy. Dean Acheson was Secretary of State at the time. There were some very important things done at that time. But the world, obviously, is very different today. Iran is taunting the United States, taunting Israel every minute. I read this morning that Iran says to Israel, we can reach Tel Aviv in 7 minutes, Israel is not replying. But as everybody knows, Israel's had nuclear weapons for the better part of half a century, and they've never used them. But there's always that possibility that Israel might feel compelled not to use nuclear weapons first, but to respond if indeed there's an Iranian attack.
Professor, do you think that right now we're talking about sanctions? Do you think sanctions will be enough here?
It may not. You make a very, very, very interesting point. It looks like we're raising some new sanctions, mostly on Iranian individuals, but it all goes back to that terrible deal. A lot of people say, I'm echoing their words, that Secretary of State Kerry and President Obama made with Iran. And, of course, they say, well, it kept Iran from getting nuclear weapons for a while.
Right.
But even we acknowledge, even the Obama administration acknowledged, President Obama did, and John Kerry as well, that it did nothing to eliminate Iranian fostering terrorism around the world. We acknowledge that.
Yeah.
And we've given them billions and billions of dollars on top of that. Some people say it's a ransom, but a bad deal. President Trump, I think, wants to unwind it. but whether or not he can do it all at once is very, very questionable.
And also, in the midst of the interview that he gave to Bill O'Reilly talking about President Trump, comparing, the ridiculous thing that was said about the United States, we're guilty too. However, he said it. But Putin's involvement with Iran as well, that makes this even.
You're exactly right. It's a very complicated issue.
Yeah.
But Russia pretty well tells Iran what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So if President Trump plays it right, he can use Russia to do the one thing that we wanted to do and we have in common, is fighting the scourge of Islamic extremism. The Russians have a big interest in that, so do we. So on some issues, I think President Trump and Vladimir Putin can reach an agreement. On other issues, not so much.
Yeah. Okay, this is it's going to be now. Of course, the latest is Iran. There's basically a Twitter war between Iran and the president right now.
It sounds sort of humorous, a Twitter war, but it's a way of communicating.
Yeah.
And President Trump is going over the heads of the media and going directly to the American public and to the Iranians. By the way, he's not the first president to do this. President Roosevelt, of course, the Twitter technology was not there then.
Yeah.
He used what were called Friday night chats, fireside chats, rather, he called them, whereby he could talk to the American public about issues pretty informally without going through the media. And it worked very well for President Franklin Roosevelt.
Very interesting. Professor Allan Saxe, we always like having you on. We appreciate it and have a wonderful week.
Thank you so much.
All right.